Evening, Martha. Thanks for joining me to share your testimony this evening. You grew up in a Christian home, you attended church early on, and you became a Christian early on. Can you describe your Christian journey to us?
Yeah, so both my parents are Christians, and so from a young age I came along to church and I heard the Bible explained, and I kind of knew the basics. I knew that I was a sinner, that I needed God to save me, I needed to be forgiven. And even from a very young age, I was kind of, I would think very deeply about death and, you know, what would happen after that? Would I stop existing? Would I go to hell? Would I go to heaven? That kind of thing. And it made me really think about it and take seriously what I heard at church. And so I asked God to forgive me, even from a very young age. It wasn't complicated. I just asked him to make me right and to clean away all my sin. But that was only the start. The bigger part of it was kind of seeing the people around me, Christians in my family, Christians in the church, and seeing the kind of the joy and the purpose that they had. And that was something that I found really attractive, and I wanted to have what they had. And so, you know, that got me interested and kept me interested. It wasn't that my parents were forcing me, it was that I wanted what they had, in that sense. Yeah.
And did you get it?
Yes, I did, praise God. And it wasn't an it was a him, it was Jesus. The valuable thing, the most important thing was knowing Jesus. That wasn't just, you know, a get out of hell free card. It was this changes the whole rest of your life for good, and it makes everything so much more meaningful and so much more precious.
You say, I'm just using some of your words here, but you say it's about knowing Jesus. A lot of people will know his name, will know of him. Is that what a Christian is?
Well, I mean, no, I don't know David Attenborough. I don't know all these famous people personally, whereas Jesus is someone that, historical person, but also alive today. And so we can talk to him and find out more about him, and, you know him in that personal sense, like I know you, and that I can talk to you and you can talk to me, and I can learn about who you are as a person. So that's what I mean by knowing Jesus.
What has he done that has made you a Christian?
He lived the way that I couldn't live perfectly. And I think when I was younger, I didn't understand what that meant quite as much, because you kind of think, oh, I'm not that bad. I'm just, you know, I disobey my parents sometimes, and I get angry. But as I got older, I would see myself failing in more and more ways, and I would think, oh, you know, why can't I be better? Why can't I be more kind? Why am I so selfish? And for all of those reasons, I've become increasingly aware of the fact that I'm not good enough and I can't fix myself. And so Jesus is the answer to that, not just in the sense of being completely forgiven, which I can be because of his life and his death in my place, but in the sense that he changes me, and he's the reason why I can have hope that I won't always be as messed up as I am.
How was living as a Christian in the student world challenging you?
Well, you're definitely not mainstream part of the general crowd. So I did feel, and more so as you get higher up in education, that it was not the done thing. It was not, you know, most people would be like, oh, you're crazy. Why are you making your life all about this guy who doesn't matter and is dead? And so in that sense, it was quite jarring. You'd come up against a lot of misconceptions or false assumptions about, you know, how I feel, or what I believe, or, you know, all my different views, and people would just assume things, and that would be quite painful in lots of different ways. But yeah, on the whole, it was just, you're here and everyone else is somewhere completely different in their whole thinking.
And presumably there's a peer pressure issue. Everybody wants you to go along with them doing whatever they do in the large majority case. Have you felt peer pressure, and how do you cope with that?
Yeah, I guess I've been really blessed in that I do have support of Christian friends, similar to my age, maybe not in my school, but who I value and who I don't. So I don't feel that sense of I'm missing out on things. Often it's the other way around, and I kind of feel like I wish other people could kind of step back from false assumptions and see that they're the ones that are missing out. So it's that kind of sense of being on a different plane, a whole different side of thinking and living, and that kind of cuts you off from people a little bit. But it's also just difficult knowing that there's so much more that they could have as well, if that makes sense.
And when you get frustrated or down, how do you cope?
So I guess I get not just frustrated, I also doubt as well. And because everybody else thinks completely differently, sometimes it is kind of like, okay, maybe I am crazy, maybe I'm brainwashed. Maybe it's all nonsense and I'm just going crazy. And I think the thing that I love to come back to and love to rest on is knowing Jesus and looking back at the historical evidence for the resurrection, because I love history and I love literature and proofs. I like maths as well. So coming back to something concrete and saying, here's something I can put my finger on that is the crux of whether or not I can trust this, whether or not he can keep his word. Well, he's proved it. He's come back from the dead. You can look at the empty tomb. You can read about the eyewitnesses. You can see the advance of the church, and it's all proof that's still here. And I find that really encouraging. Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you very much for sharing your testimony with us.
Thank you.